Whether you're with or against the amount of CCTV cameras around the world, there is one thing you can't deny. Sometimes, it's the only way to catch someone's last moments on Earth. This is Tshegofatso Pule. She's being escorted out by her then boyfriend to an Uber to take her home. Well, that's what she is led to believe. G'day there everyone, welcome to Bedtime Crime, a channel dedicated to all things crime related. Please support the channel by liking and subscribing. Every subscriber helps this channel move forward. Let's get into today's story. Today's story goes to South Africa. Visually, parts of South Africa look amazing. It's on my bucket list of tourist destinations. A place of natural, majestic beauty and a wide range of people and culture. However, it sadly posts some of the worst statistics when it comes to crime, especially against women. It's named one of the most dangerous places for female travelers. According to worldpopulationreview.com, it posts some of the worst femicide rates in the world. So much so that the Prime Minister of the country has come out to address the problem. 75% of women feel unsafe when walking alone at night, and it is estimated that around 40% of South African women will be victims of rape in their lifetime. That statistic alone is enough for women to think twice before going to South Africa. And if you are a female and plan to travel there, maybe this story isn't for you. Tshegofatso Pule's life didn't start off as happy as she turned out to be in her later years. She lost both of her parents when she was very young. However, was lucky enough to have an extended family that took her under their wing. She moved to Meadowlands and was raised by relatives, her aunt eventually adopting her as her own daughter. Her aunt raised her well. Tshegofatso was said to be a person passionate about love and life. According to friends, she was somewhat ahead of her time in fashion. She was a beautician by trade. She would often be wearing styles that would catch on only years after she started wearing them. Her interest in beauty and makeup would have maybe one day led her to start her own business in the makeup industry. It suited her personality and her look. A beautiful woman who walked around with confidence, so much so that I'm sure she attracted the eyes of many wherever she went. One of those pairs of eyes though would be Tutuko Shoba. Shoba grew up in Pimville, South Africa. Shoba had a good job working at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange in the IT division. But at the time of meeting Tshegofatso, Shoba was already married to another woman. But this didn't stop him in his cheating ways, and Tshegofatso fell pregnant in 2019. It was agreed by both Tshegofatso and Shoba that they abort the child. But Tshegofatso would fall pregnant again not too long after. Shoba was only informed about the second pregnancy 3 months in and asked her to get another abortion. However, by this time, Tshegofatso decided that she was going to keep the baby. Shoba was obviously angered by this. It's reported that Tshegofatso told her family that she was going to be a mum, and the family were very happy to hear. Though the family were excited that she was going to be a mother, they weren't too pleased about who was going to be the father of the baby. On the day of Tshegofatso's aunt's 60th birthday, Tshegofatso's aunt got to meet Shoba for the very first time. She said to reporters that she wanted to meet the man who was going to take her niece or daughter out. Tshegofatso introduces Shoba to her aunt, but he comes across very standoffish and disinterested. I guess meeting the family of your mistress isn't a comfortable situation. Though the aunt may not have approved, there was nothing she could do. Tshegofatso, though an outgoing, bright young woman, would not be very open about her problems or relationships. This made it very hard for her family to know if she needed help. something that may have stopped her untimely death were she to be more open about her situation. Though Tshegofatso's family was ecstatic to hear the news about her pregnancy, Shoba's family was not. Shoba's mother was said to not believe that it was his baby and requested a DNA test. However, regardless of all the negativity coming from Shoba's side, Tshegofatso was happy to continue the pregnancy without the support from Shoba's side. But Shoba was adamant not to have a son with Tshegofatso. Shoba obviously kept this news away from his wife, saying that he did not want his partner to know because it would stress her out. And his partner lost her mother around the same time that Tshegofatso's second pregnancy happened, and he didn't want to make the news worse for her. But though this reason may be true, another selfish reason was behind it, which we will get into a little later in the story. As mentioned earlier, it was Tshegofatso's dream to move up in the beauty industry. She was so excited when in late May, she got a phone call for a makeup position in South Johannesburg. She was asked to meet up at a McDonald's restaurant for an interview. However, when she told her family and friends, they were a little suspicious of the phone call. Especially that an interview would take place at a McDonald's in the middle of a pandemic. They warned Tshegofatso and said it was best if she doesn't go. Though the thought of becoming a well-respected makeup artist was something that Tshegofatso desired to be, she trusted her friends and family and decided not to go. What Tshegofatso would never find out is that her family was right. There was no interview for a makeup position in South Johannesburg. There was, however, a killer on the other line trying to set her up. It wasn't confirmed who was on the other end of the phone, but what has been confirmed was that after the interview, Tshegofatso was supposed to be picked up by a man named Muzekaize Malapane. Malapane was no stranger to illegal activity. A self-confessed criminal from his days of stealing cars, breaking into houses and making money any illegal way he could was the lifestyle he was used to. A person who knew Malapane was Shoba. Shoba, extremely upset about Tshegofatso's decision to keep the unborn child, needed an out from the possible responsibility of a child with a woman he didn't care about much. It was reported that Shoba wasn't really interested in the relationship in the first place. He said that Tshegofatso was too much and was only using her for his own pleasure. So having a child with Tshegofatso was out of the question. Shoba contacts Malapane and a fee is agreed upon to kill Tshegofatso and make it look like a suicide. The fee is 70,000 rand, a little over $4.5 grand in US dollars. The original attempt on Tshegofatso's life was supposed to be after the interview at McDonald's. However, since that didn't go according to plan, a second plan was devised between the two. On June 4th, 2020, Tshegofatso goes to Shoba's house for a general meetup. Eventually, it gets late enough to where Tshegofatso needs to get back to her own house. Shoba offers to call an Uber to take her home. Shoba makes a call to the Uber driver and Malapane picks up the phone. Malapane, while waiting for Shoba's call, had been drinking with a few friends. Malapane gets the green light and jumps into his girlfriend's silver Jeep and drives to Shoba's residence. Around this time, Shoba takes Tshegofatso out to the front of his residence and waits with her until the Uber driver arrives. At around 10 PM, the so-called Uber lift has arrived and Tshegofatso is seen talking to the driver. She is concerned as she can smell alcohol on the driver and is a little hesitant to get into the car. However, sadly, she ends up in the car. Tshegofatso's house is in Meadowlands, which was roughly 10 kilometers away from Shoba's house in Florida. She knew the way well, so she started to get a little nervous when her Uber driver was going in a different direction. When she asked where he was taking her, Melapane's answer was that he has to pick something up first. Melepane took Tshegofatso to an open veld next to a juvenile facility in Norgesik, about another 10 kilometers away from Tshegofatso's home. Melepane then gets out of the car, and by this time, he has a firearm in his hand. He opens the door on Tshegofatso's side, grabs and pulls her out of the car. Only seconds later, he shoots Tshegofatso. It is presumed that the shot killed her and her unborn baby. This was not the agreed upon situation between Shoba and Melepane. It was supposed to look like a suicide, and it has not come out why Melepane shot her in the first place. After Melepane shoots Tshegofatso, he puts her back in the car and heads to Durban Deep, around 13 kilometers from where Tshegofatso was shot and killed. After arriving, he hangs her from a tree and leaves her there. Records show that there was cell phone communication after the murder, most likely to confirm Tshegofatso's death. Now, usually when a hitman is hired, there is an agreement between the person who hired the hitman and the hitman themselves that no information would be given to the police on the murder, and in most cases, the first person police speak to when there is a murder victim is family, friends, and partners. Police ended up at Shoba's residence and asked to see the CCTV footage the night of Tshegofatso's murder. Shoba hands over the footage, but it mysteriously is missing 3 minutes of the footage. It's around the time where Tshegofatso was picked up. What is shown on the CCTV footage, though, is the silver Jeep that Melepane was driving. This was enough information for the police to arrest Melepane on the 15th of June, 11 days after the murder. After finding out that Shoba snitched information on Melepane to the police, this angered Melepane. So, since Shoba didn't hold up his end of the deal, Melepane would also snitch to the police. He confessed to the police that Shoba was the mastermind to the murder of the mother of his unborn child. And the motivation behind the killing was that Shoba's committed partner and wife received a large sum of money from her mother, who had just passed away due to cancer. Shoba was set to also benefit from this money, but was worried that if his wife found out about the affair and the unborn child, that he would be stripped from the money. Therefore, he needed to get rid of Tshegofatso to gain what money he could. Enough evidence was put forward for Shoba to stand in front of a court. Shoba pleaded not guilty to conspiracy to commit murder, but a jury found him guilty of the terrible crime. Melepane is currently serving 20 years in jail for the murder of Tshegofatso, and Shoba is due to be sentenced in May 2022. Tshegofatso's family and friends were celebrating the guilty verdict, and it also inspired the hashtag Justice for Tshegofatso on Twitter. If you or someone you know is suffering from domestic violence, please seek professional help. You are not alone in this situation. Thank you for listening and watching to another bedtime crime case. If you found this story interesting, why not take a look at some other cases? And if you want to support the channel, a subscribe and a like would be amazing. See you on the next video.